guys, I'm Kate. Welcome back to my channel, and today I wanted to chat about writing and publishing goals, my own personal ones, and also just like a general discussion around the nature of goal setting for creative endeavors that like kind of sort of eventually turn into business endeavors. Yeah, part of this was fueled by the fact that it's frickin' July. Like, when did that happen? What? And also partly because I have created a Kanban board for the first time. I'm kind of switching over to that system and the whole setting goals quarterly, which I will talk about in a bit. And also partly because I rediscovered the goals I set back at the beginning of 2019 or like late 2018 for 2019, and ooh boy. I'm gonna let this morning me show you the tracker I had created. Yikes. So I found this 2019 goal tracker I was going to attempt to work off of, but you can see that the last time I updated it was December 21st, 2018. So I basically had this portion of where I was, YouTube, my freelance writing, I had traditional publishing goals, and then my goals under a different name that I was going to self-publish. So, okay. The funny thing is that if I actually look at the traditional publishing goals for Project Purple, I was not actually that far off on when draft 3 ended up being done. In fact, I freaking nailed it. That's crazy. As well as the goals for the Meridian maps. You know, I actually did kind of query around this time and everything else, but of course I've now changed my goals from getting the Meridian maps traditionally published to indie publishing them myself. And then this entire thing under the different name just is, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. So before we really get started, before we really ramp up into this discussion, I think it's important to note how the tracker failed me, or how I failed the tracker, besides obviously like my inability to update it. So mainly it doesn't take into consideration any of the new projects I started working on before 2019 because they weren't in the plans, right? So I did not account for them. And so I'm talking about things like Project Death, which I got a fair amount of words in, and also like these romance novellas I'm working on now. Like, that was not in the goals at all for the year. Period. Like, ooh. And as someone who writes multiple stories at once, who's constantly like juggling multiple projects and is constantly coming up with more projects to then juggle, this just isn't gonna work, you know? Because even I can't predict 6 months, a year in advance what the projects that I will be working on are. But the question is, can I predict in advance 90 days? I think so. Basically, in switching over to the quarterly goal system, I'm kind of attempting to answer that question. And I think for this, at least, I'll definitely be able to get a better vibe of if I'm wanting to start a new story and only needing to wait 90 days in order to have achieved all my other goals and then start this new project. Like, that makes a lot more sense to me, at least in that regard. So yeah, I'm playing around with it. Now, the other thing that I've toyed with is simply just like not setting goals, but as someone who wants to be published in the future, that's not really an option, especially since several of those stories I want to publish, I want to indie publish, making that even less of an option. Now, of course, there's no point setting publication goals for things like Project Purple, a story that I want to hopefully, potentially, traditionally publish in the future. But I can set a goal to query by X time or get it up to query standards. So yeah, what setting a goal like that does for me and my mindset is just, it's very helpful, which is why I find even if I don't have total control over a situation, I still find that there's a way to break it down so that I can set the goal. Because otherwise the magnitude of new and shiny would just like take over my life, much in the way that I had to actually like put Project Death on the back burner so that I could work on Project Purple and getting it up to that kind of query standard. Like, new and shiny is the bane of my existence. I have too many ideas, and that is why I need goals. But then there are ones that I have complete control over, the stories that I want to indie publish, and the timeline for that I can control. I alone can control. Because when you're publishing, you're a business, and businesses have schedules. But the question here is, do I wait to like schedule my priorities on these projects until they are like all farther along and are like ready to be published? Or do you schedule the priorities before that point in order to then get them to that point? Does that make sense? And my opinion on that is basically that it's important to schedule in advance so that you get the work done here so that that can happen. Again, much like how I put Project Death on the back burner so that Project Purple could advance forward. All of that means basically that I am scheduling and setting goals on my creative time and tasks and endeavors, despite the fact that they are not yet arguably business decisions. So let's go ahead and take a little jaunt over to my Kanban board. I'm not gonna go overly in depth with the board just yet because frankly, I don't know if it's gonna work for me, but I did break my goals down into like 3 main goals. So like the green is traditional publishing, pink is indie publishing, and then blue is like a business-y, read, write, roam-y, vibe-y thing. So now I feel like the inevitable next question is, what are my publication goals? And there is a side tangent here on if sharing of the goals makes the goals more real, and thus like would we work harder on the goals if we share them? Is there some amount of accountability there, or does it put extra pressure on us to achieve the goals and thus like almost do the opposite, so now it's too much pressure? This is where the creative mind really this is where it gets hard, I feel like. Harder. It was already hard. I personally don't actually know how I feel about this, so please do comment down below and let me know if you think that sharing your own goals, especially for writing and or publication, either helps or hinders you, because I am very curious. So what I would like to accomplish with a kind of like long-ish look into the future, like the next year and a half, is that 1, I would like to query Project Purple before 2019 is up. 2, I would like to revisit Project Death and get that up to a standard at which I could then query before 2020 is up. 3, I would like to begin publishing the Meridian Map series in like the back half of 2020 with a relatively quick release schedule for the books after. And then 4, I would like to publish under my romance-y pen name starting in 2019 for some of the novellas, and then 2020 for my college romance series. So to achieve these, we basically have to go back to the Kanban board system and how I broke down what I want to get done in this 90-day period in order to advance myself on those goals. So like under the Kate Cavanaugh name, I'm hoping to get like 600 minutes in Camp NaNoWriMo for the first week. That is on the schedule for in progress. And then for things like under my romance pen name, I'm hoping to draft an additional 10K in novella number 2 during this time period. Yeah. And now this is such a tough thing because it's one of those where I feel like I'm making a lot of good progress, or like, let's say before I did this Kanban board system and the quarterly goal system, I felt like I was making a lot of good progress, but also I had no like great way to track that and or keep my own self accountable for what I needed to get done. So I'm hoping this is gonna work. I think there's a lot of uncertainty for me because as we approach this kind of publication sort of schedule, i.e. the more businessy side of the writing, which is a creative thing, I don't have any experience with that, which then means that like things that might not actually take that much time are going to take me a lot of time because I'm learning how to do them for the first time. And that in itself is just really tricky. And I think can also lead to a sense of overwhelm potentially, which is what I'm attempting to avoid. So I think that's it. This was like part discussion, part accountability, and part telling you that I don't know what I'm doing, but I guess y'all are along for the ride. Please do comment down below and let me know again what you think about sharing your goals does. Like, what's its effect on you? Does it increase or decrease the likelihood that your goal will be achieved? And do you feel any extra pressure if you fall short of meeting that goal? And also, what do you think of setting goals and deadlines and timelines on these creative endeavors? I know I've discussed this whole concept like a million times over, and I can't even begin to tell you how many internal discussions I've had with myself about like what to do about all this. So it just fascinates me. It fascinates me. And also, if you've published before or you want to publish in the future, did you ever notice a like kind of marked change in the way you thought about timelines for things? What point did it change into a firmly business sort of thing for you? Because there is a point there that has to happen. And do you now think about it as a business thing for all of your creative endeavors? Like, does it just kind of blur or what? Let me know. I'd love to hear about it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you especially to some of my new patrons this month. C. Kasariko, Sage in Wonderland, Athena Marie, Gianna Ballman, and Vanessa G, and I will see you all very soon with a new video. Bye. Hey guys. Oh my god. Now, of course, there's no point setting timeline. Timetable? Whatever. Release schedule. That is the word I meant. Got it. Yay!